It's Hump Day, May 21st. Thomas Miller on the Fun Astrology Podcast. Thank you for joining us. We have no exact aspects in the sky. Thank you for listening. We'll see you on Friday. Oh, no, you know me better than that. We have something that we will talk about today, although Friday is really the I guess, technically key date. But I'm going to argue that we can bring it back and start talking about it now, and probably should have started talking about it last week. I'm talking about that phenomenon that happens about every 88 days they call the moon wobble. And I say, who is they? Well, it's kind of interesting. And I had a pretty much breakthrough, I guess, conversation with Robert Glasscock the other day. This was something that he did not follow, but when I reminded him again that it's in his lineage of astrology, it really does get your attention. So let's go back to the beginning. This astrologer by the name of Carl Payne Tobey, about 100 years ago, was doing some research for some insurance companies who had commissioned him because there was a seemingly increased number of house fires. His commission was to find out why, what's behind it, is it patternable, can we tell when these things are going to happen? Well, being an astrologer, he thought he would look at correlations to the sky as part of his research, and he thought that maybe eclipses would have a factor. To his surprise, he found that eclipses did not influence the frequency of house fires 100 years ago, but whenever the sun would either conjoin or square the nodes of the moon, that did. When he took a look at the insurance claim dates of the fires, he saw that there was an increase during those times. Specifically, what he observed was about 2 weeks before the date of the exact conjunction or square, up to about a week after the conjunction or square. Well, it wasn't for, I think, some years later, maybe even 20 years later, a guy by the name of Grant Louis, who was Carl Payne Tobey's best friend, also a great astrologer, gave it the name moon wobble because it wasn't the moon wobbling, but it was just weird things happening around this sun, north and south nodes frequency. Well, how this circles back to Robert Glasscock is that Grant Louis, the guy who gave it the name, was Linda Goodman's mentor and teacher of astrology. Grant Louis, and that's spelled L-E-W-I if you'd like to look him up. But he wrote several books, and they're still available. You can get your hands on them. And then Linda, of course, Robert mentored under him for several years, and then Robert is now teaching us. This phenomenon, I think, doesn't get enough press. The next moon wobble event peaks June 13th with the sun squaring the nodes of the moon. That's a Friday 3 weeks out. So if we back up the 3 weeks that I follow, we get this Friday as the kind of the outer beginning of the moon wobble. Next Friday, if you follow the 2-week pattern. Does that make sense? June 13th is the culminating event, the square itself. You back up 2 weeks, you get next Friday. You back up 3 weeks from that date, you get this Friday. But I'm going to even stretch the window because a couple of things. First of all, I observed this very spot on at the moment when the Hamas attack happened, and it was just outside 3 weeks. Here on Friday, of course, Moody's downgraded the United States credit rating, and also on Friday, a huge, massive series of tornadoes hit the middle central United states, including St. Louis, hit it hard. The mayor of St. Louis said it was the worst storm damage from a tornado they've had historically. And of course, all of that was amplified by the sun conjoining Uranus on Saturday. So this is the stuff of moon wobbles. This is why the awareness of this is worth our note, I think. Now, I don't go as far as a lot of people do. Some people say don't buy it. Well, on major purchases, I don't know. Maybe I would, but don't buy a car, don't buy a house, don't get married, don't, all of that. So take your pick on that. I just did a big move during Mercury retrograde, and it all went relatively fine so far. No, it's all good. So I think we live our lives, but I think we live it with awareness of what the risks are. If you live in St. Louis, was there anything you could have done? Well, taken shelter, be aware when the storm alerts started coming in, take it more seriously. It's that kind of thing. A lot of these moon wobble events, historically going back, like the Oklahoma City bombing, the 9/11 attack, all of that, cannot be prevented. I mean, we can't do anything about it, but we can be aware. Then you can go back to the Subconscious Mind Mastery podcast YouTube channel and watch those 2 videos I have about my little muscle testing technique. And then you could ask during a moon wobble period, should I take this trip? If I take this trip on this airplane, will I be delayed on any of the flights? If I take this trip on the airplane, will I return home on an airplane? Will my family be safe while I'm gone? See, you can do all of these things to ask with the heightened awareness that something might be in the space. So with nothing else significant going on in the sky today, I thought today would be a good day to just put that out there for your awareness, because when we come back on Friday, we're going to be talking about things like the sun trining Pluto over the weekend, Mercury moving into Gemini. So there's a lot to discuss on Friday, when I will see you next. Have a wonderful hump day. Thanks so much for listening. Sending you lots of love.